Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to talk about what I define as fading in, fading into the relationship, being perceived the right way by way of dogs as social animals, by way of relationship, establishing a proper foundation. And what I compare this to is, again, talking about the parenting example, being perceived the right way as a parent in terms of establishing parental influence. And again, when I talk about the confusion and the role of influence, again, I would encourage people to think about the parenting example by way of parental influence. How is parental influence established? Based again on interacting with a child as a parent in meaningful ways. And again, so understand all the language you hear, how I talk about this system of training aligns with basically parenting. In terms of reconciling your role in that, in terms of relationship, but even this issue about fading in, as I define it, in terms of beginning to be perceived the right way, and again, in terms of some of the hands-on exercises that I advocate. Dog owners, very interesting. One of these exercises, off-leash type exercise, during the session, really offers up a great picture of the issue about fading in. And what this exercise represents is, again, moving into an off-leash type of transition, where you're engaging, interacting with your dog in very specific ways. Follower moments, as I define it, is very interesting. And so what the exercise is moving from on-leash methodology, again, transitioning to off-leash, so that basically you have a better picture as to what you're doing during the day. But again, moving into a type of an off-leash type of moments is having members of the family all standing around in a circle type of a setup, and with the dog again beginning to transition off-leash. Has a collar on. And very interesting exercise, because what you'll see through that in a very tangible way is, as you're beginning to interact with, and everyone's taking turns doing this, as you're beginning to perform the push-pull method. Okay, you can check out that method on through my videos. And as you're doing the push-pull method, again, to interact with the dog and begin to again his influence begins to take hold. Very interesting, because what you'll see is versus having a dog initially, you'll see the transition. You'll see as everyone's standing around in a circle, immediately as soon as you take the dog off leash, and so everyone's in a circle, so kind of kind of setting up the exercise so the dog can't go by anybody but has freedom. But very interesting, the first thing you'll see the dog go to that individual where the dog has gained the most control through. Access to control. Always. You see the dog just, weighing options, go right to that one individual. But again, as the dog goes to the individual, that individual is interacting with the dog, bringing the dog into a level of influence. It's creating these moments where the person's fading in, or being perceived differently. And what you'll see is you'll start to see the dog kind of start to hesitate more, instead of trying to go right to the person. And then the transition is trying to, basically you see the mind kind of jumping over and going to the next supply source. Could be another dog outside the circle, a toy. You'll see the dog fixate, and very interesting. But again, as everyone is engaged in the exercise and doing these moments, whoever's closest to the dog will do one, and just kind of let the dog go, and the dog has freedom. But in terms of freedom, it's about relationship. Understand, it's about that connection, just like being connected as a parent with a child. You'll see the dog start to consider and start to perceive the individuals differently, which means that the focus changes. You'll see it. The dog starts to stop instead of trying to rush by everybody or go to the one person. And then through that, even through the method, the dog starts to change how they perceive that individual. Say, hey, I can't gain control through that person anymore. Person's starting to take control. But through that transition, you'll see the dog start to relax. In fact, you'll see stress start to come off the dog very quickly and the dog will start to just lay down, relax, because basically the messaging is all the same, saying, hey, we're all in control. You don't have to be, thinking about, your mind pushing forward that way, and you can relax. And just like again, the example I use about finding the, comfort through the right parenting style. It's about comfort the right way and taking stress off the dog. So the dog begins to relax, starts to de-stress, and everyone starts to be perceived the right way. And so what happens is very interesting too, because as I'm standing in the circle, guess who the dog doesn't want to go to? Well, me. Okay, in terms of leadership, advocating a certain way, the dog will start to, will at first, start to disassociate and not want to go to certain personality types. Okay, this is where very common for people say, a dog doesn't like men. Okay, a dog doesn't like certain people. Well, think about that. Just like a child will go to a certain, parent to get their own way, and start to, not want to go to other people because it's about, weighing options that way in terms of relationship. But interesting, as everyone's engaged in this exercise, guess who the dog starts to go to very quickly? Starts to be accepting of myself, very, agreeable, accepting, right? And so it's all about, again, understand it's about relationship, how this is, how change happens in and through the dog owners, through individuals that way. Dogs are social animals. So again, I'll say it's a great exercise to really emphasize what I'm saying. But here's the thing, okay? When you're going into an off-leash transition that way, with dogs that are holding a high level of control, some dogs will start to really challenge and start to kick up based on that type of contrast, the issue about freedom, the specifics of those interactions. And so you just have to be very aware of that. And you may not, be able to transition that way because the dog will start to go into high level of challenge. Okay, so more on leash at first, then freedom that way, that type of exercise. But very interesting through that exercise, you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see the fading in part of it. In fact, you'll see the dog become agreeable to certain people, and the dog start to relax, start to lay down, relax. So again, this type of exercise I'll do near the end of the session. Okay, transitioning from, again, how your kind of daily routine looks like, but these type of off-leash moments. Okay, because it's like the wow factor. It's no different than, again, the parent example. The parent is engaged, they're invested, they're interacting with and the child in certain ways, and it's getting in their airspace, saying, where are you going, who are you hanging out with, right? It's that type of investment. Okay, it's not meant to be over the top. Okay, it's not meant to be, and this is like these moments, the push pull. You'll see it. It's not meant to be, engage in a high level of conflict at all. Okay, just like the wow factor, just like the dog understands the intent, makes sense of it. Okay, because it's like repainting the landscape. Influence starts to take hold through how the dog perceives you in that environment. And again, the dog starts to connect dots properly. Okay, everything's about, starting to get a dog to see things the right way in terms of, relationship, control, just like hierarchy. Okay, you'll see it. So again, great exercise to do. I encourage really think about that. It's all about, I talk about fading in. This is the type of exercise that really you can see it like in real time. You can see the dog's perception start to alter. It's very, very interesting. So again, something to think about. If you have questions about the system of training, contact me. I'll be more than happy to answer them. Thanks for watching.